Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's your fellow professional procrastinator, Chansey, Chandler, or I prefer, Chimmy Buffett. Today we're going to be updating a video I did a while back discussing the status and the latest updates on Sker Ritual. With that being quite a while ago and me returning to it recently and finding myself quite enjoying it, I had to think. And after I made a thunk, I said, frick it, let's do a little update and dig and just see how good the game was doing and, just what was to come down the pipeline. Alright, so it's been quite a while since we last spoke about Sker Ritual, and a lot has come out since then, and I believe it's been right around a year since we last spoke about it. Some of these things include a PS4 and an Xbox One console release, and then some small hidden objectives, voice chat, third-person mode, and custom games with modifiers. And finally, what I had heavily asked for in the last video was weapon skins to grind for. With the Sker Pass system being a very awesome and most importantly free way to earn extra content in the game. However, I always felt it was a little empty on the weapon side, so thankfully they have filled this void in my, eternal Sker Ritual rant, and balance has once again been restored to the Force. They added a very simple XP based system of earning the same camos over and over for all the weapons in the game. However, this is honestly just lukewarm tap water news to me. While good and overall I'm glad we received anything, it's still suffering from the exact same issues it did when I released my original video, that being that the content is just taking far too long and is just far too thin or barren. Alright, this one's gonna be a little rough. When it comes to the community, well, to be honest, as all the hip people say nowadays, it's cooked. Since last time I updated, there was around 200 people on average playing the game daily. Since then, it has only dipped, with at the time of making this video only averaging around 60 to 80 people peak daily. However, there was a free weekend here recently. However, this only made Sker Ritual situation kinda even more bleak, as it only peaked at 814 players, not even touching the once 6,000 it had at launch. Well, my hopes for Sker Ritual, I don't want to say bleak, but I think optimistically bleak is a good way to say it. With a scroll onto Wales Interactive's website, the maker of Sker Ritual, you can quickly find out why Sker has received so little of updates. The short, simple, sweet, summer answer, simmer sweet, cherry pie on top is that they just have a ton of new projects. And also probably the very low player count overall. And while it seems they're extremely proud of Sker Ritual and reference it all over their freaking website, it seems it definitely is on the back burner when it comes to all their other endeavors. A quote directly from the website backs this in stating that we are not just dedicated to Sker Ritual, but to the whole Sker universe. We are very excited to reveal that several projects are already underway. This statement pretty much just reads to me, look guys, we got a bunch of other stuff we're working on, so take a nice breather, touch some grass maybe, and while don't directly expect a ton of Sker Ritual content, there will be some especially in other Sker-related projects to come, with this leading into Whale Interactive's newest game. Releasing later this year, it's called Hazard Levels. While not a direct follow-up to Sker Ritual, it is a co-op horror survival game, but however it is quoted to not have guns. I believe the statement was released to, have an exact correlation so people don't kind of get the over-exaggeration of an idea or something like that to where they go, oh, this is Sker Ritual 2, just with a bit of phasmophobia thrown in there. Alright, so I always like to throw a little bit of positivity into these videos, I don't want to all be negative Nancy now. We gotta have some good in there. So we'll just go on a 10-mile long branch here and say maybe in some universe that someone from Wales Interactive is watching this video. I'm gonna give a few little suggestions I think they should add to the game. So some of my bright ideas that I like to throw into the pot, that is Abraham's hat. One of the first and the biggest, of course, is another season and a round of maps. Look, I understand the game is $25, so we can only expect so much, and 6 maps is pretty solid in my opinion. But I would certainly pay another $20 to $30 for an expansion bringing on much more cool lore, miracles, perks, and things of that nature. This leads me into another big thing, being an overhaul of the perks and weapon system. With both being very bare bones, I would like in addition to new perks, being new upgrades, new ways to level up those perks, maybe even perma perks like from BO7. Also a more in-depth weapon camo system with a bunch of new camos included and a gunsmith of some sort. Of course, new rewards to earn things such as, new updated Easter egg rewards and things such as round achievements and possibly even a way to earn bundles or ways just to skip ahead and get items in the Sker Pass. With that being said, I feel the Sker Pass system is very solid and honestly one of the best parts of the game. I would just like to see, more of them and include more customization besides just, heads or voice lines, but also maybe some bodies and just some other customization options. Well, now to some final thoughts. I think Sker has had a very decent year. I still feel like it wasn't enough overall, but I still felt like it was a very solid game. I just want more, which is honestly a good and a bad thing. It has most definitely taken a backseat to the other projects, but with the previously mentioned free weekend for Sker just a month or so back, and them still drip feeding content, I believe Sker is still alive, just clinging on for dear life. I believe Sker could come back to his glory days if it could just build up enough hype and content, but unfortunately it just seems like Wells Interactive just isn't very interested in that. I couldn't find any kind of roadmap for the game as far as the future goes, so with that being said, all we can do is just sit back and slay monsters until then. As always, thank you ladies and gentlemen for watching and giving your time to this video. If you want more gaming updates or videos in general on this channel, make sure to like and subscribe to let me know that you're interested in this kind of stuff. I have plans to do a potential 2026 review on Sker Ritual, maybe some other Call of Duty Zombies or other gaming projects, if it does well. And of course, as long as the joy for these kinds of games still flows through my sleep-deprived, vitamin D lacking body. Good day ladies and gentlemen, and always stay blessed and stay sunburned.